Hey everyone, welcome back. It is episode 7, full episode 7 of Horns Up, your weekly heavy metal conversation. We are back from Maryland Deathfest and we are ready to get back into our normal routine. I am your host, Dan Kaplan. With me as always, coming to you this week from Scott Ian's rainbow-colored beard, Corey Butterworth. How are you, Corey?
Oh, God, I'm just delightful. Is it so good that we're getting back into our routine, though? I kind of like the whole Maryland Deathfest ending the week routine. That was kind of nice while it lasted.
Yeah,
Sure
yeah.
about this.
I missed you coming to us from random oddball locations on Heavy Metalers. So it's nice to get back into that and have you join us from faraway locations.
I see the disconnection now. Fine.
But yeah, no. In all seriousness, what a weekend that was. That was I enjoyed the heck out of it. Certainly lived up to all the fun we had last year, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, I had a blast. Obviously, we all saw some of our favorite bands. It was nuts. I mean, Sunday was a little warm, but I don't have any complaints aside from maybe the city of Baltimore itself. But as far as MDF goes, we did pretty well.
The city of Baltimore, that's a whole nother conversation right there. I felt I did enjoy it. I thought there was some great music, some great in terms of the bands we went into that we were looking forward to seeing, but also some bands that we discovered down there. Whether it was Mgła, whether it was Necros Christos, you name it. Taka, yeah. But I don't know. I'm starting to feel. I think we're getting old, dude. I don't remember being nearly as wiped out last year as I was this year.
And the thing about last year was we did back-to-back days. We had a full day of recovery between our Maryland Deathfest experiences this year, and we were more tired than we were last year.
You know what? I mean, maybe that's it, though. Maybe that's it because, this year we had a day of rest in between. Yeah. Last year, we had 2 back-to-back days, then we had a day of rest, then we traveled. I think coming back from, doing a full day at the festival and then traveling, I think that did me in. I'm like still a mess.
That could very well be part of it. I remember I was pretty out of it after 8 hours on I-95 on Monday, but it is what it is. I mean, it could also be because we all went into Sunday pretty highly high levels of energy. We were playing kick the can and chugging beers before 11 a.m. type stuff. I think a part of it was just the music. It was Doom Day, and
it was Doom Day.
Yeah, unlike the
previous
day, it was warmer.
It was about 10 degrees warmer than we had on Friday, with as much direct sunlight.
We were frying, and the thing about Friday was things kicked off with some pretty good. Who actually opened on Friday? I don't actually know if we really watched that much, but Mgła was the second band.
Friday's opener was Castavit, and we didn't really pay attention to them.
Right, we were merching and stuff
because mediocre.
Right, yeah. But Mgła was the first band Mgła, I should say, was the first band we actually watched, and they
the way your audio came through there, it sounded like you said Mgła was the first band we actually watched. I'm not editing that out. That stays in the podcast.
I'm going to start saying things that way. But that was the first band we watched, and they really provided a lot of energy, and it kicked the day off really well. And it definitely helped jumpstart all day Friday and Sunday. It took a few bands for us to really. I mean, obviously Windham was great, but it's a band that you kind of just space out to. Yeah. And it just didn't have the same level of energy from the get go. So I think that may have been a factor as well. But shit, who cares? It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good day, and we closed it out well. I mean, that was the key. We took a little break in between, and then we came back, and the last couple of acts we saw were last 3 acts we saw were Gorguts, Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, and Candlemass.
A bit of Candlemass, yeah.
Even though we only saw them for about 10 minutes, what a way to close out the festival. They were all 3 incredible sets. So
yeah, absolutely, no complaints.
Yeah.
I'd like to now that MDF is over and we had time to rendezvous with my folks from this area down in Baltimore. Quick shout out and quick thank you to Jeff from Exchequer for supplying the entire Horns Up team with not only the newest Exchequer release full length, but also the EP. Which I did not expect to have him in hand, which was kind of cool. I mean, obviously I have my copies, but it's pretty dope that he supplied you guys as well. Why not?
Jeff DeMarco, friend of the podcast. You are a good dude. Your band is kick-ass. We got to get you guys on here sometime because the EP, remind me of the EP's name.
Hypnotic. Nope, that's the new one. That's Synchronicity is what you're thinking of.
Synchronicity, yeah.
Yeah.
The EP and the new album. I have them both already, but it's good to have solid copies because you never know when the technology is going to shit the bed.
Could be any day now.
Yeah. Good dude, good band. Thank you to Jeff. It was great meeting you this weekend. Which I guess means your next big festival coming up. It's only 64 days away. What? Remind me what the name of that one was. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I think it starts with a V. No, it's a W.
It actually starts with a W.
It's pronounced with a V. That's what I was getting at there, Dan. Yeah, Wagenfest is 64 days away, just over 2 months. Pretty dope. Obviously getting excited, obviously getting a little freaky outy, but it'll be pretty awesome. Good 2-week vacation for me.
Well, my next festival is next Friday, so you can suck it. So
oh yeah, that.
I'm going to Governor's Ball.
Yeah,
Death Heaven's playing.
Yeah, I'm seeing them like a week after too in Boston, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
They put on a good show, as hipster as it may be. Yeah. I know I'm going to get a lot of fucking ridicule for this, but fuck the haters. Death Heaven puts on a fun show.
No, I don't. Fuck that, dude. They're awesome. I'm genuinely curious to see what kind of reception they get at Deathfest, which is a shamelessly mainstream like pop festival, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Pop and rock and hip hop. I mean, right. But yeah, they're the hipster metal crossover darlings. So I guess they earned a spot.
They're cool. Don't care. I mean, I know metal's so much about appearance. That's why we like, Immortal and the like. But the fact of the matter is, good music, and those guys pump out some good shit.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Despite the fact that people ridicule them for being hipster metal.
Plus the fact that Kerry McCoy, like half of his tweets are about Morrissey and the Smiths. I love it. I mean, it's
right.
fucking cool.
Plain.
We are in the thick of live music season at any rate.
We are, and I really seriously think that we should investigate this whole 70,000 tons of metal thing next January. I really do, because of Blind Guardian. I know it's a stretch, but how dope would that be?
It's very tempting.
I know it is. I just don't have a slim grand sitting around right now. I'm not sure too many people do, but
we'll take a look at it. Maybe there are some strings to be pulled. Before we get there, though, we've got a couple of news stories to get to. We've got some concerts to check on this week coming up. So why don't we just get right into it? Moving into our headlines segment. Over the past couple of days, we've had some new singles, either formally released or leaked from bands that we have interest in. Talking about Opeth, talking about Arch Enemy, and I am talking about Wolves in the Throne Room. How do you want to run these down? Any particular? What do you want to discuss first?
Let's start with the briefest song to grace our ears earlier today, and that was the new Opeth song,
Cusp of Eternity. Off the forthcoming album, Pale Communion.
That was available today on YouTube, except not because it's been removed. Son of a bitch.
It was leaked. It was leaked. The track Cusp of Eternity is not supposed to be formally released until next Tuesday, June 3rd. But made its way onto YouTube, leaked it. Someone leaked it earlier today. I got to listen in. You did not. Unfortunately.
That is correct.
And that's a damn shame because you are missing out on quite a track. No death growls. It's not old Opeth, but there's a really interesting kind of sinister riff to it. It's exciting, even if it's not a death metal song. Like, it's very exciting. I enjoyed this 4.5-5 minute song more than the entire Heritage album combined.
That's great news.
I was no fan of Heritage, so and I think we've discussed this before.
Not anywhere.
Cusp of Eternity has very much piqued my interest. We'll definitely be giving it repeat listening coming up in June. It just fucking sucks that the album isn't coming out till the end of August now.
Right.
Because, damn it, after this, I actually want to hear it.
God forbid I want to hear new Opeth. Jesus.
I know. I was sort of just ready to let Opeth like live and let live, like I'm trying to think of what I would compare it to. Like,
well,
the most Huh?
No, I was going to say a band that I've kind of that's living and I'm let living kind of like In Flames. They'll never pump out another, Horacle or Colony, but they'll keep doing what they want to do, and I'll either listen to it or I won't, and that's the end of that.
Right. Right. I mean, that fits. I was gonna say Rush. Like, I was not.
Yeah. Okay.
I was not as big a fan of their most recent album, Clockwork Angels, but it's fucking Rush. They've done so much for their genre. At this point, let them do what they want. They're not selling out. They're doing whatever they're doing because of a genuine interest in exploring new sounds. So. Doesn't mesh with me. It doesn't mesh with me. What do I care?
Obviously, it's about the money at this point, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Let them go.
Opeth, you're in the same league as Rush, so well done. Well done, chaps.
Fact.
Anyway, next up, we have a new one from Arch Enemy, You Will Know My Name. Again, off the forthcoming album, War Eternal. I actually just ended up listening to this one about 5 minutes before we started recording. You can't really convince me that that Arch Enemy has gotten the monkey off its back, so to speak.
No.
I watched all 3.5-4 minutes of this video because goddamn Alyssa White glues.
She's my favorite human being on Earth right now, as of right now.
So, like, if they do rankings of like hot metal chicks and she's not on the list, or is not like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, frankly,
travesty.
Then there's something wrong with your list, and I will consider it moot. I don't think the song is terrible. It's just it's very forgettable. I mean, I think of the now 3 from that album that I've heard so far, the others being the title track and As the Pages Burn. I think this one might be my least favorite thus far. There's nothing with it to stick with me.
Right. I won't argue that point. It definitely is not going to be that memorable of a song, but I will say this. I listened to it, and then I listened to it again, and then I listened to it one more time, because the chorus is a fucking... I have this little drawer here in my apartment that I just file these things into, and this one fits in that drawer. The label on the cabinet says earworms. In the chorus of the song, it's a fucking earworm. It's stuck in my head and would not go away. It almost like too catchy to me, almost like metalcore catchy, which is a problem. But the verses, I didn't get a whole lot out of. The solo offended me. I just thought it was awkward and it just didn't sound good. Yeah. But I just kept watching the video because of Alyssa.
Yeah. It's like spoiler alert, something I'm going to talk about later on. It's like that Steel Panther song, You're Beautiful When You Don't Talk. I mean, I think Alyssa has more of a brain on her than the gal that the 4 guys in Steel Panther are commemorating with this song.
For sure.
But yeah, as a sheerly physical presence, god damn.
Yep.
Just let her be judge, jury, executioner, and mascot for Arch Enemy, and I will be okay with it.
No, I would agree. I mean, again, the song was catchy at parts, not a memorable one, but I didn't not enjoy watching and listening to it. So whatever. So
what do you think? I mean, we have 3 songs now from War Eternal. Is this something we're going to be discussing upon its release, or
I guess we kind of have to? I mean, granted, the fact of the matter is they'll probably release every single song as a music video long before the actual album comes out, so we probably won't need to, because we'll have every song for 5 minutes already anyway.
It's going to be like Kanye West did with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and he's just going to, by the time the album comes out, we will have heard literally the entire thing.
Exactly. So it's just, So. I'm sure we will, just because of the hype and everything else, but at this rate, again, like you said, we'll have heard everything before it comes out, which I guess you can use your judgment on. But whatever.
Again, Arch Enemy, the track is You Will Know My Name. War Eternal is coming out, actually, I think in a couple of weeks now. So We will keep our eyes
know.
out for that one, maybe.
Stay tuned.
Finally, we have a new track from Wolves in the Throne Room called Celestite Mirror. It is off their upcoming album Celestite, which is a companion album to the 2011, 2012 album, 2011 album Celestial Lineage. What did you think of this one? This is a bit of a change of direction for Wolves in the Throne Room, yes?
It was as close to 180 as I feel like Wolves in the Throne Room could make. First of all, I liked it. I'll start with that.
Yeah.
I think a song like this, Neil deGrasse Tyson would be proud. It was, and granted, I've been hearing that this album was going to be entirely instrumental, no drums. And this is exactly what sound I would have expected from that. Long, slow ambient build up on the track. It is 14 and a half minutes long, but it's a beautiful song. It's extremely, especially at the midpoint. It almost, at parts, reminds me of like some of those instrumental sections off of Devin Townsend's Ghost. In parts.
That, yeah.
Yeah, in parts. It was definitely still their natural sound that you expect from them, but it didn't have that organic harshness that like Celestial Lineage was so known for in my mind.
Yeah.
Granted, I did really enjoy the song, but as a song, as an album that's going to basically succeed Celestial Lineage, this was not what I expected by any means at all.
Yeah, no, it's sort of a bit out of left field, but I am with you. I did like the track. I was thinking of softer Devin Townsend as well when I listened to it.
Nice.
Stuff off Ghost. There are some elements of. I actually got it reminded me of the Hummer. Have you ever heard that one?
Yep.
His completely ambient record. So it's a good track. I am very excited for Celestite. Even with the departure that it represents for Wolves in the Throne Room, I think they're a band that can take a sound like that and have a lot of potential with it. And this only reflects that. So. Again, the song is Celestite Mirror. The album is Celestite, and it is a companion album to Celestial Lineage. So if that's not enough words that begin with Celeste, then go fuck yourselves. That'll be coming out later this year. So yeah, that'll be that's our new track recap. Amazingly, this is somehow only our first headline for the week. So let's move on. We'll talk about some news today from Metallica. Landmark 1991 self-titled album, commonly known as the Black Album, became the first album of the SoundScan era to hit 16 million copies sold. Again, SoundScan began in the same year the Black Album was released, in 1991, and is the means that record labels and Billboard and the chart executives use to track music sales. Since that system was implemented, no band has sold more albums than Metallica, than the Black Album. We're talking Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, nobody.
And the thing is, obviously, unless you start counting. I guess the thing about this is, as we briefly talked about earlier, before we started this show, this album obviously drew in the traditional Metallica fans that expected the thrashy stuff, the Master of the Puppets, the And Justice for All, if you want to go in that direction.
Sure,
as well.
You had the hardcore fans who were gonna, after And Justice for All, were gonna buy this album no matter what,
right.
And then maybe in some cases were alienated by the more mainstream sound, but this drew in more mainstream fans. This was their crossover record, their big mainstream push, and it drew them in droves, and it is still drawing them in droves. Much more so than Megadeth.
Still sold more than Megadeth last week.
Megadeth's most recent album, Super Collider, in its debut week last year, was outsold by the Black Album. It's a fun fact.
That same week.
Black Album was only 22 years old at that point, but
no big deal.
For those who might be interested, number 2 on the list, the Black Album is 500,000 ahead of number 2, which is Shania Twain's Come On Over. Man, I feel like a metalhead.
Weird.
Kids got jokes. Maybe not. We'll edit that out.
No, that statement you don't.
Just you look at that though. That is just staggering.
16
million.
I don't know.
Forget about metal or otherwise. Like, is any album ever going to do that again?
In this age where unless they find a way to track every album that's downloaded from any source whatsoever, I don't think anything's going to be able to. Just the age we live in, there's so many means and there's so many ways of obtaining records without going down to a Best Buy, without going down to your local record shop and handing the guy a 20 and walking out with a CD. There's just so many other ways of getting an album. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, you look at. Well, actually, no. This is interesting. I'm looking the obvious album I'm thinking of here because it feels like everyone and their mom has bought this album. I'm thinking of recent albums. I'm thinking of Adele's 21, which I thought had only sold like 6 million copies, but evidently that went diamond. That's almost at 11 million. So
no shit.
Props to Adele.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just out living in my shrouded metal universe.
But no. I mean, it fooled me too. But you look at it in an era where, I mean, I think last year at one point we had the number one album in America for the first time ever. And I forget what album it was and when exactly it was. But there was an occasion where the number one album in America failed to hit 75,000 copies or something like that. Yeah. With the obvious exceptions like this or Daft Punk or whatever Justin Timberlake puts out, music sales are trending downward. And so 16 million is certainly nothing to turn your nose at. So props to Metallica for, hitting that point. I don't want to say keep on keeping on because they're certainly not keeping on, but Black Album, 16 million copies. Well done, guys. And finally, we have some interesting news from Apple today. It's not specifically metal news, but news that will affect metal and pop and R&B and you name any other genre pretty much. Apple has formally announced its acquisition of Beats Music for more than $3 billion earlier today.
Big number.
I'm going to say earlier this week because this is going to air on a Friday, and it won't be today. For $3 billion earlier this week. This means, of course, that Apple owns Beats Music is responsible for those big, colorful headphones that you see on subways.
Overpriced, less than fantastic headphones that people spend way too much money on.
I'll take my Bose headphones any day, but that's besides the point. They now acquire Beats' streaming service, Beats Music, which has come on and begun making a name for itself over the past few months. But most importantly, this means that Dr. Dre is now an Apple employee.
All of the laugh out louds.
I mean, look at NWA now. Like we've got Ice Cube starring in fucking kids movies, Lottery Ticket, Are We There Yet? Are We Done Yet? Whatever.
I wish.
We've got Dr. Dre who's working for Apple now. Like, holy shit, he's a billionaire. He's officially a billionaire. Setting aside what this means for for Dr. Dre and for Apple, I'm really interested in what it might mean for us as music listeners. Apple has, they tried to get in the same arena with Spotify with their iTunes radio service. Hasn't really worked out for them. A lot of people have just sort of railed against it. But if you think about this, you take Beats Music's streaming service, combine it with Apple's music library from the iTunes store. I mean, what is out there to stop this thing from just taking over?
It's weird because I have such a weird opinion on this because as much as an awesome proposition as that sounds, the fact of the matter is I kind of have a weird relationship with Spotify because it was so great when I first discovered it. It was just the best.
Oh, I think it still is great, frankly.
Yeah.
But my thing is there are holes in Spotify's catalog.
Well, of course there are.
Which isn't to say that there aren't holes in Apple's catalog, but they're fewer and farther between with Apple just because
they're Apple.
It's so much more established.
Right.
And this is just, this is just capitalism at its finest. If Apple can make this work and overtake Spotify, I think there are a number of ways that Spotify could still have the edge. Their integration with social media, I think, is wonderful. Just the ability to embed playlists. I don't use Beats Music. I don't know that they can't embed playlists, but. Right. Spotify's got the social integration, the embedding of playlists like we do each week on our blog.
Yeah, shit. You guys see our blog? We post playlists multiple times a week.
Yeah, and more importantly, they have the established following at this point.
Right.
It's like when I remember when Microsoft came out with the Zune and the Zune store, and they thought that was going to be the answer to iTunes, and then no one did it. Even people that had PCs that were on Windows computers still got iTunes for Windows. So you never know. It could end up being nothing, but if they do this right and this becomes a thing where they can get Apple's library onto a streaming service, fuck, count me in. I don't even care if I have to pay more. We'll see how it goes. But that'll wrap us up for headlines for this week. Again, it was a little bit of a quiet week. We're coming off Memorial Day and we're coming off Deathfest, and the metal world was just sort of a little bit quiet. But some interesting stuff all the same.
Read our quickies, stay informed so we don't have to do it on their shows.
Exactly. Hornsupmetalshow.com. We do quickies every day for the stuff we missed. That'll keep you in the know. Moving on to concerts, I know we talked about Maryland Deathfest in great detail, but I want to get into a couple of concerts that we were not able to cover last week because of our mini-sodes, our time at Maryland Deathfest. Concerts from the previous week. Now, Corey, I know we both went to see Mastodon, Gojira, and Kvelertak, you up in Massachusetts, me in New York City, but you also went to see Solstafir. Why don't we talk about that one first? What'd you think of them?
It was actually a lot of fun. The show was at the Middle East upstairs down in Cambridge, which is basically Boston. The same way you may as well call. Fuck it. It's Boston. The Middle East, small venue. Now, when I mean small, I mean the upstairs hall holds a maximum capacity of 196. They had maybe a third of that up there. I walked into the venue, and who's eating dinner outside, like the restaurant on the tables, but the freaking Solstafir dudes in like their cowboy hats and shit. Fucking hilarious. But it was awesome, though, because I'll start off with the opening acts. There were some good opening death metal acts. Local bands. I couldn't even remember their names at this point if I wanted to. The band that was with Solstafir for this tour was Junius. More like a proggy metal rock band, but they were good. They were cool. Solstafir was great. They got an hour plus set. They played a lot of stuff off Svartir Sendar, which obviously I've talked about in depth on this show before, which was really cool. They played Pale Rider off of Cold, which is one of my favorite songs by them, which I was recently added back to their live list, and it was great. I was right there up front. It was a very casual but very personal show, and I have absolutely no complaints about it. It was a nice little. I knew they were playing Maryland Deathfest. I knew that was only 4 days away, but the fact of the matter is,
you saw them twice in the same week.
Saw them twice in the same week, but I also knew the second time was only going to be for like a half hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I have multiple CDs of these guys, so. Get my fill. It was a cheap show, whatever. It's a Sunday night, why not? Type of thing, and it was awesome. I have no complaints whatsoever.
Yeah, I did not get to see them. They unfortunately came through New York the same night that I was seeing Chromeo. But having seen them at Maryland Deathfest and been pretty wowed by them, I'm certainly looking forward to my next occasion to see them, which actually might be later this year, following the announcement of their new album.
That's right.
Did you hear about this one?
I did. It's coming out, I believe, early September in America.
September 2nd here in North America.
Right.
The album is called Ota, and it's got 8 songs. It'll be on Season of Mist. So hopefully they do another tour for that. We'll certainly try and catch them here in the city if the timing lines up. Now, moving back to another one from that we had hoped to discuss last week, Mastodon, Gojira, Kvelertak. What'd you think of this one? I know I had seen Kvelertak before, and I had been singing their praises for a solid year. What'd you think of them?
I think Kvelertak was like the perfect opener. I had a ton of fun watching them. They were having a ton of fun playing. I love their sound. The thing is, like, I can't guarantee how much I'll actually listen to them when I'm at home sitting around, like working or whatever, or writing for this blog or whatever it may be. But the fact of the matter is, whenever I have an opportunity to see them live, I'll probably go.
Yeah.
Because they just push so much energy onto the crowd. It's pretty addicting. I will say that this show...
Oh,
what's up? No,
sorry.
what's up?
Well, I was gonna say they had for me the same effect that Rammstein had. In that, before I saw them live, I liked their music. I wouldn't have called them one of my favorite bands by any stretch. But having seen them live now, it's just like, can't go back. I fully am on board with this band. They're one of my favorites. The live experience changes you know?
Yep, absolutely. Fair point. I will say this show almost got off to a really fucking shit start for me. This show was at the Palladium, which we all know how I feel about that place at this point. Very much a love-hate relationship. I've seen some of the best shows ever there. I've had some of the worst memories of a lot of shit there. Yeah. But I show up about an hour before set time, and I'm in line behind I got lucky, probably about 200 people, waiting to get in. I figured it was just because the doors hadn't opened yet. Hour before set time, that happens sometimes. No worries. I come to realize, as I'm standing in line for over an hour, that the line I'm standing in is for the assholes that still need to buy tickets, the individuals who bought their tickets a month ago and decided to do, will call, which is like myself, why the hell not? It's free. Right. And also the assholes that were on the guest list. So, like, the priority people were in the same line. And so you got your friggin' stupid fat deathcore fan with his 10 stupid fat deathcore buddies trying to buy 10 tickets. They have no money on them because they're stupid. And meanwhile, I'm behind this group of idiots being like, describe these
metalcore people to me again. I wasn't quite sure on their qualities.
Fat and stupid. I think it's kind of a universal description.
Okay, I think I get it now.
Perfect. But no, these massive groups of people that obviously didn't plan ahead, have no money, whatever. It's Worcester. These things happen. And I'm just trying to, can I just have my ticket that I bought 3 months ago or whatever it was? Can I just please have my ticket? Here's my ID. Can I go in now instead of having to deal with this shit? So that was a little annoying. But aside from that, Kvelertak was really cool. Gojira was awesome. I love Gojira's set. They were big sound, quality sound. Love them. Love the atmosphere. And Mastodon. What do you want me to say? Their set
was
a
set
perfect.
From Mastodon.
They covered everything.
I lost my shit on multiple occasions during that Mastodon set. Whether it was, we got Black Tongue, we got Oblivion, we got Divinations, we got
Crusher Destroyer.
Crystal Skull, Crusher Destroyer. Oh my God.
Crystal
I think
Skull.
I texted you holy fuck, Crusher Destroyer.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And they closed with a Sparrow, which actually kind of worked. Which I didn't expect it to, but
yeah. And we did get the new song. We got High Road.
Yep.
I think they also played their second single, Chimes at Midnight, which certainly went over well. And yeah, I'm with you. Gojira were incredible. I only caught a handful of songs from their set. The guys I was with, my buddies, wanted to check out the Roof Bar, but we did watch them from up there on their TVs, and they definitely seem to have the energy. Kvelertak, what can you say? I fucking love that band to death.
Yeah.
I don't think anything will ever top my first Kvelertak show, which was in the studio at Webster Hall when there wasn't enough stage room for everyone in the band, and so guys were hanging from the rafters taking guitar solos and climbing over to the bar to play their songs while chugging beers.
Yeah.
Just what an experience. Yeah, that was a good time. I'm definitely with you.
I mean, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. As those bands, I feel like, well, I mean, obviously I'm new to Cabela Talk, but Mastodon can never do wrong for me. I mean, Gojira, did disappoint. I'll be getting more to them lately, and obviously Cabela Talk, I'm a new fan. But while all these shows were going on last weekend, preceding MDF weekend, and then we went to MDF. There was one act that I probably would have gone to locally that I would have gone to had it not been for MDF weekend, and that would have been at the Casino Ballroom at Hampton Beach, a place I usually don't go. But Steel Panther was playing there on Saturday night. Naturally, I was in Baltimore for such events. But last night, they happened to stroll through New York City, and I think, Dan, you got a chance to go to that show.
Did I ever? What a show that was. Steel Panther rolled through, just absolutely rocked the place. So much misogyny, so much hair, so many hysterical lyrics, but they owned lives at that show. I was laughing early on because the band they brought along with them a group called Future Villains, from Los Angeles. The poor guys, I wasn't nuts about their music. Not a fan of the style. I mean, they do what they do fine, but it wasn't really my bag. So naturally, when the band took the stage and the guitar player's amp cut out, my first thought was to chuckle a little bit. And they had their guitar tech come out. It looked like he had fixed it, and then it went out again. And then it went out again. And I think I counted 6 or 7 times that this poor guy's guitar amp just stopped on him. And bless their hearts, they kept going. They pulled off the set at the end of the day, sometimes performing only with bass. But, they made it work. So props to them for that. But then, I don't know why, I've thus far spent more time talking about Future Villains, which is not acceptable. Then Steel Panther comes out, and we're transported back to the mid-'80s. This is just the mid-'80s. I should say that we would have been transported back to the mid-'80s had there not been so many dudes. I mean, that was the one defining difference. In the 80s, this would have been girls with teased up hair and ripped t-shirts. In 2014, it's a lot of dudes, a lot of heavy set dudes, but it was a fun crowd for the most part. The one thing I couldn't understand was I think it was during Glory Hole. It was either during Glory Hole or Tomorrow Night. People started moshing. I'm just like, no, what the fuck are you doing? This is not moshing music. I mean, it's pop metal. Like, come on. Yeah, this is music. This is metal for people who don't like to mosh.
Or like metal.
Yeah. That being said, those people, they really only lasted for one song, and not much of the show was ruined. But we got a good set out of them. We got, I think, 6 or 7 songs from the new album, All You Can Eat. We got a whole bunch from Feel the Steel from the first album, and a couple from Balls Out. I was reading. I actually went and I looked back at the set list from your show in Hampton Falls, and the Hampton Falls crowd got to hear one of my favorite Steel Panther songs, 17 Girls in a Row. We did not. It was subbed out for Stripper Girl in our set, which again, I'm not going to complain because these songs are all hysterical and I love them all.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
But I was like, that was an interesting change. But they were great. They sounded wonderful. And it in Irving Plaza, that is no small achievement. Irving Plaza has notoriously terrible sound. But they sounded crisp. They got girls up on stage at the very end for Glory Hole and for Death to All But Metal. It was It was just quite a good time. And I want to add that I met up with our good friends, Brendan and Kate, who we met at Rammstein a couple years ago.
Yes.
Had been trying,
the rest of the Rammstein
had
crowd.
been trying to get another show in the books with these guys for a long time. Didn't work out until recently, but got to meet up with them, catch up. It was a great time. And now all of a sudden we're meeting up again for 9 Inch Nails in August. So
Nice.
it's gonna be good. But that was Steel Panther. They have, like Caveller Talk, my first Steel Panther experience pretty much transformed them into one of those bands that I will see whenever they come through now. It was fantastic.
That's happened to me for a lot of bands this year when I think about it.
It's
Death Heaven's one of them. The Ocean's
one
of them.
Definitely one of them.
Caveller Talks. Yeah, Caveller Talks one of them. It's kind of nice. The benefits of going to a lot of shows.
Definitely. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for concerts this week. Let's get into some new releases. Now, I will admit, right off the bat, I've had a little bit of a busy week, both at Steel Panther last night and dealing with some apartment crises earlier today and last night. I have not been able to get through all of these albums. I will let Corey take the lead where I was not able to check these guys out. But we've got 4, as you may have seen from our Just the Tip post earlier this week on hornsupmetalshow.com. We've got 4 albums we listened to this week from a pretty wide range of different genres, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, the diversity of the genres is definitely there, but we got a lot of sludgy stuff from a couple albums. One took the sludge in more of a grind direction, and then one that's just completely out of the direction of the other 3. But yeah, we covered a lot of bases this week,
and a couple from MDF alums from this past weekend. But let's get right into it. First off, I mean, let's start with the ones that only you were able to listen to. First off, we have a self-titled record from I Hate God. What'd you think of this one?
I don't know. I mean, this album got some pretty good reviews. Just doing a little bit of research on it.
People love their I Hate God.
People love their I Hate God. Maybe it's a sound I just haven't gotten yet. Maybe it's a sound I'll never get. Whatever. New Orleans-based sludge band. They've been around since '88, and they've been kind of on the back burner for the last few years. So this is kind of supposed to be their big resurgence type of thing.
Well,
from what
Jimmy Bauer from I Hate God, it should be noted, is also in Down, who
right. They've been busy. They've been busy. That's fact. This is straight up sludge. But I kind of forgot how punky their sound can be at times, which is okay, I guess. But they sound punky, but they're not. There's not a lot of pace to their music. It opens with Agitation Propaganda, which is a pretty short, sweet intro. It's aggressive. It's in your face. But then their sound falls right back to their slow, low-toned sludge sound that you're more familiar with Trying to Crack the Hard Dollar. It's only about 3 minutes, but somehow it still manages to be a little repetitive, which is really frustrating for me. But then it jumps into Parish Motel Sickness, which I kind of actually liked a lot. There's a really fascinating relationship between the drums and guitar leads. Just the timings, it's out there, but it kind of works for the song. I don't hate it. The sound kind of starts to get old on me a little bit by the time we get to Nobody Told Me. Robotussin and Rejection, I just didn't care for all that much. But then we move into like Medicine Noose, and that I thought was a great track. Probably my favorite on the album. It had a really interesting intro. They did a lot of things with it, some more up-tempo sections, something I thought the album really needed, aside from like those early portions of it. Maybe that's not necessarily what this band's all about, but it was something that needed to be on the album. And then finally it closed with The Age of Boot Camp, which wasn't too bad either, I guess. It was a great way to close the album. But overall, I mean, it's forgettable. I didn't hate it, but it just didn't do jack for me. I don't know. I'm not huge into the sludge scene anyway. I mean, maybe I haven't found the layers that this music's supposed to provide me or something. I know people love their I Hate God, but yeah, this album was solid. There's nothing wrong with it for what it is, but it just didn't really catch me that much.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Fair enough. I will have to give it a listen. I know, as you said, it's gotten a lot of acclaim so far. So give that one a spin later this week. From a similar genre, and actually a former compatriot of Jimmy Bowers in Down, let's move to Kirk Winstein and his band Crowbar, who released Symmetry in Black this week. What'd you think of this one?
Well, this is, again, they kind of fall in the same category, sludge. New Orleans-based NOLA. 89, so same time period. This album, I actually... weird, same genre, but I actually really enjoyed this one. Walk with Knowledge Wisely. I know, Dan, you said you only caught the first couple tracks, but Walk with Knowledge Wisely, the opening track, started off with a really kind of a kick-ass drum intro. And the whole song made it feel like there was going to be a big level of, just a big level of sound, a big level of feeling coming at you from the album as a whole, which I thought was kind of cool. The haunting vocal sound, especially on Symmetry in White, worked. This was sludge that I felt had those layers that you need in this genre. The song "Reflection of Deceit," moving towards the middle parts of the album, was really cool. It kind of, if I could, kind of describe it, almost felt like you were falling away, and that was really cool. They picked up the pace a lot on Ageless Decay, which was great, because this is when I usually start to lose interest in an album. If it's not doing something for me by song 4 or 5, it starts to lose me. And this one was, I think, the 5th song in the track, and it picked the pace up. Yeah. It was great. It really kept me in tune. And it followed with Amaranthine. I'm just like, the shit? It's an instrumental, just really ambient, like nothing. Like I completely didn't expect it on a sludge album, but it worked. And then it moved into Foreboding, Ageless Decay, those tracks, which were a little bit more aggressive. Drops off a bit, towards the end of the track. Before, we moved to the end with Symbolic Sludge, which was probably my favorite on the album. It almost, that one almost had like almost King Diamond-esque sections, especially in the vocals. Yeah, but then it completely changes 2/3 of the way through the song because, fuck it, sludge, why not?
I wouldn't have expected a King Diamond type thing, but I will have to. Yeah, I will have to take you at their word, at your word. They better not be busting out no hip hop on me. If they do, and you're lying to me, skulls are gonna crush.
Yeah, I'm saying King Diamond-esque just because I want Dan to listen to this and hate himself. It closes with an instrumental, which was kind of mundane for me. I thought
piety of self-loathing. Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, it's a cool track, but I think it should have preceded Symbolic Suicide. I think having that, that instrumental, which really does build and fall, would have been nice to precede a more heavier, up-tempo song like Symbolic Suicide, which ends up closing pretty slow-paced and sludgy like they're known for. Just my personal opinion, but this was definitely, out of the two sludge bands I listened to, definitely the better of the two. This will probably finish in the top half of my albums this year, so no complaints. Nice. Good work, Crowbar. Wish I could have seen you at MDF, but I didn't.
Again, the album is Symmetry in Black from Crowbar. Definitely we'll be giving that one a listen. I got through the first couple of songs on the subway ride home today, but I will find some time to sit down with it in depth a little bit later this week. Moving on to albums I can discuss and was able to listen to. Let's get into the new one from Misery Index, The Killing Gods. What'd you think of this one?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought it was good. I was not a big Misery Index guy before this. I wasn't not a Misery Index guy, but I just never got too deep into their stuff. But this thing is seems feisty.
The fact of the matter is I wasn't a big Misery Index guy, and after MDF, I still wasn't a big Misery Index guy. So I was a little kind of apathetic going into listening to this album. At this point being, I've had enough experience with this band. I'll listen to it for the sake of listening to it. But it was cool. I liked it. The first two songs out of the 2 songs out of the first 3 were, what were they? I think they're both like there were 2 of them that were instrumentals, which seemed kind of weird for a death grind band, but it sort of worked. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It was a bit unexpected, but I don't know. If I'm thinking down to, I mean, shit. We're talking about even. For me, it wasn't even on a song by song level. It was a riff by riff level, and they unloaded just riff after fucking killer riff, and their guitar tone was so crisp. I mean, I guess that's what you get when the one guy used to work at a Guitar Center in Baltimore. He clearly
Kevin told us that story before.
Yeah, but. I mean, it was just really crisp sounding, really terrific listen. I remember liking Gallows Humor.
That was my favorite one.
That was
easily
ridiculously
so good.
Good song. Yeah. So
it's a foot tapper.
The boys. Yeah, exactly. So the boys from Baltimore, I definitely will be paying more attention going forward and check out some of their back catalog because. Killing Gods was a good listen.
Yeah, it was fun. So, I mean, I wasn't crazy about the way the album ended. I mean, I felt like it could have had a little bit more of either a big or a better conclusion to it or some kind of conclusion to it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the songs were all really good. So
yeah, there was, I will agree, there was a little bit of a dip at the end, but not enough to really damage its standing for me.
Right.
So definitely in the top half of my list, probably maybe even the top third. So some good stuff. Again, the album is The Killing Gods from Misery Index. Finally, moving into an album I really, really enjoyed. We'll talk about Lantlos and their new album, Melting Sun. Again, Lantlos is a German post-metal, shoegaze, whatever you really want to call it,
right.
Band. And this one is, wow. I'm gonna gush about it. So why don't you tell me what you thought first?
Yeah, let's do that because I mean, here's the thing. I really did enjoy this album. I don't want to. Dan's gonna pretty much upscale anything I have to say anyway by a distance because he really did like it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, it took me a couple of tracks to really get into the album as far as the sound goes. That could partly be because I listened to a crap load of sludge metal before it. But it was really cool. I mean, I didn't really think too much of Azure Chimes. I mean, it was a cool sound, but I guess at that point I didn't have enough to go off of. But by the end of Cherry Quartz, I really started to get into the sound. I'd probably only listen to this on a playlist with, the likes of Anathema, Alcest, that kind of stuff, but screw it, whatever, it is what it is. It's space music. Aquamarine Towers, I loved. I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that song. It's deep, it's layered, it's, it really took me to a new place the album hadn't at that point. I thought the
interesting because that was, if I had to pick a least favorite, and I don't want to say least favorite in the traditional sense,
right?
Or to imply that I didn't like it. But if I had to pick a least favorite, I think mine would actually be Aquamarine Towers.
Interesting.
Funny enough.
Interesting. Yeah. I thought the length of the album was good. 40 minutes. 6 songs.
6 songs, 40 minutes.
That was good. Although I have to say, I'm not sure how you felt with this one, but like Jade Fields really got me too.
I loved Jade Fields.
That was right up there with a peak of the album for me. I don't know. It was a really refreshing album. It was a really cool album. It was different. This is definitely something I'm going to spin probably a few times over the course of the summer. It's got that feel to it. I enjoyed it. I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the Jade Fields and Golden Mind, like 1-2 closing punch,
sure,
really great. I love the hell out of this thing. I was very. It was heavy. Don't get me wrong, but I loved that it had a very atmospheric quality to it. It kind of reminded me of a less shreddy Scale to Summit. Like if you were to keep all of the exhilarating qualities of Scale to Summit and make them less Dream Theater-y,
Which is always a good thing.
Yeah, it would kind of remind me of this album of Melting Sun. I mean, shit, the ocean came to mind. I thought it was in scale. It was similar to Pelagial last year. I mean, not as many tracks, not the the same kind of concept approach that Pelagial had, but just in terms of taking a sound and letting it build over the course of an album, and just creating seamless, just segs between tracks. I thought it was wonderful.
That was the best way I could describe it. It's like they had a sound and they just let that sound build upon itself and then they made it into an album. Yeah. It just feels so natural and just feels so comfortable as far as how it was written and how it was conceived that when that's passed on to the listener, it makes it pretty addicting.
Yeah, and stunningly pretty, by the way.
Stunningly.
Heavy. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very, very pretty album.
Right. And that's not inconceivable of a situation.
Yeah. One that I certainly will be listening to on repeat for a while. I currently have this as my second best metal album of the year.
Agalloch?
Behind Agalloch, yes. It's behind Agalloch. But funny enough, it's actually tied with Agalloch on score. I gave it a 4.08 out of 5. I had to give Agalloch the edge because
it's Agalloch.
Fucking Agalloch, dude. What can you say about those guys?
Yeah. We've been spoiled this year, dude. We've been spoiled with these metal albums this year. There's been some good shit.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I thought 2013 was a good year, but 2014 thus far is just blowing me away with this good metal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, the album is Melting Sun. The band is Lantlos. Check it out. It's on Spotify. We put it up on Just the Tip earlier this week. It is definitely worth your time. From new albums, let's move into some old albums. Let's get into our retrospective section. I know we've got a couple. Both of us have albums that I'm rather fond of. Why don't we do yours first? What do we got on your end this week?
Surely. I went down the some would call it sellout, some would call it mainstream, but the classic Norwegian symphonic black metal band Dimmu Borgir. The album I picked was Death Cult Armageddon, which came out third quarter. I guess you'd say third quarter of 2003 in September. And I just forgot how much I fucking love this album.
It's a great record.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's a really great record.
It's so good. If I have to listen to any Dimmu album, and I do have quite a bit in my collection, this is probably one I'm going to keep going back to the most consistently. Sure, the sound is very much over the top as far as the symphonic melodic thing goes. But who cares? Some of my favorite Dimmu tracks of all time are on here. Vredesbyrd, Progenies of the Great Apocalypse, Blood Hunger Doctrine, Allegelens Dodai Helvedsreich.
Allegelens Dodai Helvedsreich.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, really start to finish, it's great. I think my favorite ones are probably the ones that are in Norwegian. You take the Helgens or whatever you pronounce it, and I think that one melodic singing section where ICS Vortex does his thing might be the best moment of Dimmu, maybe ever. It's just so cool. I mean, I wish the guitars maybe mixed a little bit louder because they're doing some really cool stuff back there as well. That doesn't come through, but it's such a great track. It's such a great album.
Don't forget about Cataclysm Children. That might be my favorite.
Cataclysm Children. I mean, even the opening.
That little passage where it has the keys come in and it's the melodic piano passage. I don't know if you want to call that the chorus or the bridge or whatever, but holy hell, is that catchy!
Holy hell, indeed. No question about it. And it's like, I really don't care what Dimmu's perception is at this point. This is a great album. And I am one that does shit in this band fairly frequently. They're kind of fun to ridicule. I'm sorry, like the intro to Eradication Instincts Defined, ridiculous. Yeah. Who cares? But also, who cares? I mean,
their entire existence after this album, pretty ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was about to say actually, I don't think anything they've done since then has come anywhere near this album for me. Storm Blast had its moments, and Sorte Diaboli had its moments. In fact, Sorte probably had one of the better songs Stimmy's written, and Invaluable Darkness.
See, I think I actually liked Abrahadabra. I thought that was a nice return to form. But the thing is like even Abrahadabra, decent album though it was, didn't make me want to make fun of Demu any less.
Right. No,
I still enjoy making fun of Demu.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, Abrahadabra is a great album. It really is. I enjoyed it. It was a great return to form, like you mentioned, but it still did not reach this album, and that's kind of like my main point. Like my main point is because this album, I hate saying it's like the top of the mountain for them, but they kind of haven't reached it since. Even though again they have put out some great stuff since then. Abrahadabra with like half the members that were on board for Insorte, so go figure. Right. But no, I mean Blood Hunger Doctrine. You kidding me? The way that song starts and builds and just it's nuts. It's Deathglow Armageddon. It's awesome. It's classic Demu. Can't complain.
Yeah. You won't get an argument from me on that one. My retrospective, I'm actually going with one that I acquired this past weekend at during our trip to Soundgarden down in Baltimore. Going with a classic from Black Sabbath. I'm going to do The Mob Rules. Actually, I think the album is just called Mob Rules. The song is The Mob Rules. Mob Rules. Dio era. Ronnie James Dio era. Some might say not real Sabbath. I don't know. Perhaps controversially, I would argue that Dio era Sabbath is superior. I know people will argue that Ozzy had the mysteriousness and the doominess, and I appreciate that, don't get me wrong. But I think, to me, Dio era Sabbath has always been so much more streamlined. Now, don't take streamlined to mean mainstream. I think Dio era Sabbath can be characterized by just good albums top to bottom. Very listenable albums top to bottom. Whereas you can't necessarily say the same for the Ozzy era. I think those albums are all great. And in fact, my single favorite Sabbath song is a Sabbath song. Is an Ozzy
song.
Is an Ozzy song.
I would fucking hope so.
My favorite Sabbath song is a Sabbath song. Oh, you don't say.
my favorite Sabbath song is a song by Doth. Go figure.
Right. My favorite Sabbath song is an Ozzy song, and that would be Hole in the Sky. But Dio Sabbath, I mean, from both Heaven and Hell and
I was going to say Heaven and Hell is. If you say post Ozzy isn't Black Sabbath, then you can't discount Heaven and Hell. It's one of the best albums ever produced. Period.
Yeah. And
it's amazing.
To follow it up with an album like this with Mob Rules, I will admit, like, this one took me a little bit to get into. I think partially because when I first heard these albums, coming, from Heaven and Hell, you get a fucking kick-ass opener like Neon Nights. Turn Up the Night, I think, fell. It kind of, in comparison, it wasn't as good, but I've grown to like it. I've grown to like it as an opener over the years. I think it's nowadays. I think it's one of my favorite Sabbath songs. From there, you got Voodoo. You have Sign of the Southern Cross. Mob Rules. I mean, this thing is just, it's just a killer, man. Dio just runs the show with his vocals. I mean, incredible performance as always. I mean, it reminds me more, I mean, I guess the argument you can make is that this sounds more like, like Rainbow or, Dio, previous Dio material than Sabbath, but fucking, I don't care. If it's billed as Black Sabbath, it's Black Sabbath, and I can listen to the hell out of this album. I think since I picked this up, since our trip to Soundgarden, I've probably listened to it all the way through 5 or 6 times. Just tremendous album.
It is. It definitely is. It's kind of funny, actually. I just finished reading about the making of this album, Because actually, while we were at MDF, I did some merching myself and picked up this book called Precious Metal, which was sent out by Decibel, which basically just recounts some of the bigger the makings of some of the bigger albums of all time. And it's just really, really funny to hear about all that went on behind the scenes as far as kicking out Ozzy goes and bringing in Dio, and how he basically was just given a shot in the dark, and he just beast moded Children of the Sea, and they're like, all right, you're in. And that was the extent of it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, on the Heaven and Hell album, you essentially had the same Sabbath lineup minus Ozzy.
Right.
Mob Rules shifted it up. Bill Ward was dealing with struggling with alcoholism. He had to drop out of the band. In comes Vinny Appice, who is just, what a job he did on the drums at only 24 years old at the time.
It's really funny because as I was reading about that, I guess like during a lot of those Sabbath recordings in like the early Dio days before they basically parted ways with him, he has absolutely no recollection of recording anything. He says he's lost years on his life from just being blacked out. Most of it was during Heaven and Hell, but it's still just funny to read about because like that's obviously something that you need to deal with. And he's just like, oh yeah, because I interviewed everybody and they're like, oh yeah, I can't really help this interview because I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
Oh man,
quite a character.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I'm looking at this now. It looks like some of the singles from this album, from Mob Rules, were B-sided with leftover tracks from Heaven and Hell.
Yep. Exactly.
The title track from Mob Rules, the B-side was Die Young, which is one of my favorites from Heaven and Hell. Turn Up the Night was B-sided with Lonely Is the Word. So, Dio era Sabbath, these tracks just hold up, from album to album and, now 30 plus years on. Just incredible stuff. Further confirmation that Ronnie James Dio was a fucking legend.
Fact.
But at any rate, my retrospective, Black Sabbath, Mob Rules, just an absolute classic. So, let us move on, though, to our final segment of this episode. Let's do Horns Up, Horns Down. Corey, what do you got for your Horns Up this week?
I actually read about this today. For those unaware who didn't read the quickies, shame on you if you didn't. Amon Amarth is going to be on tour again later this summer. I say again because I guess technically it was last winter, whatever, but they're on tour through January with Skeleton Witch and Enslaved. Cool. Enslaved is awesome. They're going back on tour, North America again, with Skeleton Witch, but instead of Enslaved, it's going to be Sabaton. Still cool, but I really, really like Enslaved, so it's a little kind of like, been there, done that for me. Right. That said, one of those dates is going to be for the Decibel New York City anniversary show. This is Amon Amarth, Skeleton Witch, Sabaton, Valenfire, and Evoken.
Valenfire, who we really enjoy.
And recently discovered, frankly.
Right.
At least I personally recently. And
right, well, based on Splinters, their new, their most recent album.
Exactly. I'm fired up about this. Like, I'm actually really excited about this show. It's not going to be, let's take a look here. It's going to be, let's see. October 18th, Saturday, October 18th. So we got some time. Actually, between two venues. We're going to get Amon Amarth and Sabaton, and Valenfire for that matter. And I believe that one will be at, at the Best Buy Theater. And then we're going to get Skeleton Witch and Evoken at St. Vitus.
Ooh.
So, but what I'm hearing, what's being rumored is that they're obviously not going to overlap because they want people to go to both, blah, 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 and whatever. But, I'm always looking for excuses to go to New York City for shows, and this is kind of a no-brainer for me. I like pretty much all these bands. I know Amon Amarth can get same sounding, and I've seen them a million times, and I've heard them a million times, and I could say I've heard them a million times after only hearing one album, because they all sound the goddamn same.
The Nickelback.
The rest of these
Nickelback
bands,
of extreme metal, you might say.
Seriously. But, it doesn't mean their sound isn't good. They still put on a good show. Skeleton Witch is a fucking blast. which Dan knows, obviously. And then Evoken, MDF last year, definitely Doomy, Funeral Doom, the Kings of Funeral Doom, if you will. And then I'd love to see Valenfire live. Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. First appearance, actually.
That'd be a terrific band to see.
So that's a thing. Later October, I'll probably be there. That just sounds cool.
Yeah, we'll keep some tabs on this. We'll definitely, if we can make this happen, I would like to.
Yeah.
My horns up for the week. Did you get a chance to watch this?
I unfortunately did not. I completely forgot about it.
Oh man,
which is just me shitting the bed, but
So my horns up for the week. As some of you may know, I'm a big. If you've been listening to us since week 1, episode 1. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, and now there was no Game of Thrones episode this past weekend, which was, of course, Memorial Day. People were off doing holiday things, including people at HBO. More power to them. But instead of Game of Thrones, we were graced with a video. I don't know of the original source. I came across it reposted on the Superficial, which is an entertainment pop culture mockery blog that I read. Mm-hmm. A video of Seth Rogen and Snoop Dogg discussing Game of Thrones, which includes Snoop Dogg speaking in a British accent, which includes Snoop Dogg talking about how there aren't enough black dudes on Game of Thrones, and the ones that do all have no dicks. It's just wonderful. I want Snoop Dogg to talk about Game of Thrones every week because it's just his analysis is hysterical. It's a 2-minute and 45-second video that I probably watched 3 or 4 times in a row and was cracking up every time. Check it out. We will include it in this week's edition of The Dump for sure. But yeah, once that's online, give it a watch. It's pretty wonderful. So anyway, moving into horns down. What do we got? What do we got this week, Corey?
Oh, this being our chance to bitch about something for a change, because we don't do that enough. I have to move this fucking weekend, man. Are you kidding me? I hate moving.
Into the rock and roll house.
Yeah, I know. That's only called because we live on Rock Street, which is, I guess, kind of awesome. But fuck, I hate moving. It's really going to be tightly spaced as far as the timing goes, because the previous resident is leaving the same day I'm going to be moving in, and I own a lot of shit between guitars, and just my friggin' CDs and all my brewing equipment and all the other shit I have. I live in a fully furnished apartment that I did myself. All this stuff has to go somewhere. And it all has to be done in a day. And just moving is such a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm lucky because it's across town, but at the same time, I just am dreading it with the utmost passion. I don't know. It fucking sucks. I mean, I guess I'm kind of used to the whole moving once a year thing, because I haven't stopped doing this since I left college. Because it's something I do while I was in college, but Christ almighty. Oh, I'm dreading it. But, whatever. Fuck it.
I don't even have any immediate plans to move, and I'm already dreading my next move. I'm going to stay in this apartment as long as I can, because number 1, I don't want to move. Number 2, rent. Who the hell knows? Although, who the hell knows how long as I can is going to be with all this fucking bed bug shit we have to deal with.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I'll tell you what, nobody's going to want you to move in if they find out your old apartment had bed bugs.
Yeah. Well, conveniently, I mean, thankfully they're not in my side of the apartment. I think I'm safe thus far, but fucking hell, those things.
Yep.
At any rate, good luck with that. Hope the move goes as smoothly as it can for you.
How stupid.
I am, for my horns down, I'm going to talk about bus travel. I don't like bus travel. It's something I only do when I absolutely have to. When I'm going home to Pennsylvania, for example, I opt for bus travel because the local bus line goes right into our hometown, my hometown, whereas the nearest train stop is in Philly. This past weekend for Maryland Deathfest, I was forced into bus travel by Amtrak, if anyone from Amtrak is listening to this, your company is fucking inept. Just throwing that out. Was trying to buy tickets down for Maryland Deathfest. Actually had, despite it being Memorial Day weekend, this was several months ago. Despite it being Memorial Day weekend, I actually was able to find some discount tickets, and I was going to get a good rate on them. Went to buy them, and Amtrak's site crashed, and it went down for several hours. By the time it got back online, and I actually had time to go visit the site, because of course, this was during the work week, and I was busy doing, work.
Work at work.
Yeah. By the time the site got online and I was actually able to access it, those discounted tickets were gone. And the cheapest tickets went from, I think I had it from $65 one way to $105 one way. So
Jesus.
That forced me, yes, because Memorial Day, that forced me into a Greyhound trip, which let's just say I wasn't a fan of. I realize that this is not going to be a rail against Greyhound, but rather bus travel in general. But dear Lord, on a train, no matter what, if you're next to a less than desirable seatmate, you can get up and move to a different car. You can get up and walk around. You can go hang out in the cafeteria car. You can go hang out in the fucking bathroom, because there's more than one and you're not holding people up. Right. On a bus, if you're stuck with a fatty, with someone who's talking on a cell phone, with someone who smells, or in my case, all of the above, and who keeps every single carry-on bag in her seat and sometimes on your seat, there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck.
Right.
You're dealing with this asshole for what ended up being a 4.5 hour trip for me. And I was not a fan. And as you'll recall, because the trip that you and I took down to Deathfest last year inspired my no bus travel unless in emergencies rule. Right. Granted, that was on Bolt Bus, which is pretty naturally terrible to begin with.
Right.
But
remember that screaming kid?
There's never enough space between the seats. You're always crammed. It's the fucking worst.
It really kind of is, though. For a while, because I go to Boston once a week, I have two options. I can take the bus out of Portsmouth for the hour and 10 minutes it takes to get down there, or I could drive half an hour, take a 45-minute train out of Newburyport, Mass. For the longest time, I drove my ass at earlier in the morning, more money, to the damn train station half an hour away, just so I didn't have to take a goddamn bus twice a day. That's how much I hate those fucking things. I remember very well the Bolt bus down to Baltimore last year. I'm pretty sure we were supposed to leave by, what was it, like mid-afternoon, early evening?
It was a 6 o'clock bus, I believe, and we ended up leaving close to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so we naturally got in 2 hours later.
And it was raining, so we were standing outside in the rain.
And there was a screaming kid. Not the kid's fault. I don't want to make it sound like I hate the kid. Maybe I should. I don't know. Fucking whatever.
Maybe a little bit.
There was a screaming child.
A little bit.
Maybe a little bit. But some parent brought their little kid onto the bus, and instead of trying to make it stop crying, it was pretty much just ignoring it the whole time. And it's that's great that you can ignore it. The other 78 people on this bus can't. So fucking figure something out. And it was like that for the entirety of the 4 hours. So hell on earth, buses are stupid. I can't blame you.
Yeah.
Can't blame you.
Well, I'm through with it now. I hope I don't have to. I hope I don't have to take a bus anytime soon. We'll see, I guess. But for now, my horns
buses
down.
Buses will get
you. Yeah. For now, my horns down. Bus travel. Which I guess brings us to the end of episode 7. It's good to be back in the routine. I'm looking at it now. Jeez, we are recording. We've gotten a good little chunk of time. on this thing. We will have this up as soon as possible for the listeners out there. Again, don't forget, on our blog, hornsupmetalshow.com, you will also see the dump. You'll have the dump, which is a curation of all the content that we mentioned in this episode but could not share with you because of the limits of an audio-only medium, whether that's pictures, videos, links, you name it. It'll all be there. We'll also have on Sunday our Sunday Side Splitter, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, Corey, any final thoughts for Week 7?
I don't know. I think we covered more than we probably should have over the last hour and a half. Definitely a lot going on, but that's going to happen when we take a week off for such festival as Maryland Deathfest.
Yeah, I was going to say, after a couple of mini-sodes, it's good to get back into our structured discussion. We'll work out the kinks from here. But at any rate, for Corey Butterworth, I am Dan Kaplan. This has been episode 7 of Horns Up. A reminder, you can access our blog at hornsupmetalshow.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/hornsuppodcast. Twitter, follow us at hornsuppodcast. It's been fun. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, as always, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.